Hey everyone, welcome back to the Board Game Spotlight. Today we're going to look at Arcane Alley from Strange Space Games. It's for 2 to 6 players and it plays in about 45 minutes. So let's take it to the table and I'm going to tell you about it. So we've set up today for a 2-player game. To give you a little bit of the layout here, we have the Gold and Infamy track. Players will gain gold and gain infamy on this track. Each player is also going to have a 3x3 grid square of item cards. Now, the story behind this game is that as a wizard, you were tasked, you've dedicated your life to selling enchanted curiosities for curious enchanters. Now, life was good and very profitable, but a miscast incantation caused a mix-up that could spell your end. Your precious items have been fractured, hidden, lost, fumbled, jumbled, all different things. Not even Merlin himself can fix this problem. So you're tasked with collecting sets of items in your tableau. You want to collect them in sets either vertically, horizontally, or diagonally. When you do that, you're going to have the ability to sell those goods for profit, and you'll move your tracker up in the gold. At the end of each round, any cards that you have left face up are going to give you infamy. And infamy is a bad thing. Infamy is gained when you go past 24, you gain one of these skull tokens. Each player can hold 2 of these tokens. If during the inspection phase you have a token, you'll lose 25 gold. And if you have 2 of these tokens, you will lose 50 gold. So managing your infamy track is incredibly important. So each player at the start of the game has a 3x3 grid square. This is their storehouse, and we each have a hand of cards. This is considered our stash. Now from our stash, we are able to play cards. We're also going to be able to, whenever we replace a card from our stash, it can go into our hand. Then from our hand, we're going to have the opportunity to discard a card. And so that is a way that players can sculpt what they're trying to collect. Maybe you're trying to stop a player from gaining a third card of a set so that they don't score for those points. Or maybe you're trying to set yourself up for scoring points at a later time. But what you can do on your turn, at the beginning of the game, you're going to reveal 2 of these cards in your storehouse. Now, this is a way to get you started towards collecting your various sets. You are then going to either draw a card from the discard pile or the top of the draw deck. So we have an older wand in our hand. So we're going to draw this older wand here, and we'll place it and replace this card. Now, when you replace a card, it's going to go into your hand. So from this hand of cards, we then need to make a decision on what we want to discard. So if you notice, this is how much you're going to gain for gold when you sell this set. This is how much infamy that you're going to gain if this card is face up inside your tableau at the end of the round. So we are going to score 2 here, or we would lose infamy for having the hypnotic toad. So I think what we'll do is, this is only 2 for 1 and it gives us an infamy. We're going to discard this card. It's going to go over to our opponent, who is then going to go through the same process. They would look at their hand, which is known as their stash. They would start the game by revealing 2 cards. Now, unfortunately, we've got a bubbling cauldron that our opponent needs, so we might want to hold on to that for a while. We also have a crystal ball in our hand. So let's play this crystal ball, and let's put this into our hand. Now, it's important to note that these cards are going to have various abilities. So this ability with a hand means that when you play it, you gain an infamy, but then you can peek at any hidden item. So we will gain an infamy, and then we can look at any of our bottom hidden cards. Hey, look, there's a crystal ball. So what we could do on our next turn is we could play a card. This goes into our hand, discard another card, and then we'd have the opportunity to play that crystal ball on a subsequent turn. So this is going to go back and forth between players. So then we could draw a card here. Oh, there's our 3rd older wand. So we could play that older wand here. This goes into our hand, and maybe we want to keep this. We don't want to give the bubbling cauldron up, so we're going to discard the bottled fairy so that we don't give that cauldron to our opponent. It's going to go back over here. They're going to draw a card, and there's the boomerang. The boomerang is interesting. It's going to have this ability that if you replace this item, you can then play it back into your storehouse. So it's going to continually circulate. So what we'll do is we can replace the boomerang. Hey, look, it's a crystal ball. So then we could give up one of these cards. Now this gives us -5 infamy, You hide all your adjacent revealed items though. So when you play this, anything that's face up is going to get hidden. So this is a card you want to play earlier in the game. So let's go ahead and get rid of this Sovereign Sword. It's a lot of points for having that, but it's very the pressure luck aspect of the game, because you don't want to get caught with points in your tableau. Now the round is going to end when a player has completed and they no longer have any hidden cards. So let's go ahead and finish out this turn, and I'll show you. Here's another Bubbling Cauldron. So we've actually helped ourselves out. Now we have 2. We'll replace this card here. It says place the top card of the discard on the top of the deck face down. So when we play these, we would then discard cards into it. You have to check all of the cards to see what they do. There is a Sovereign Sword. So we're going to go ahead and discard this as our turn. All of these cards are going to have various abilities. So for instance, if we reveal this Sovereign Sword, we can't gain money. So this is not a good card to reveal when you're trying to sell sets. And the way that you sell sets is when you've completed a row, you would remove these and you would place them face down off to the side, and you gain the listed amount of gold there. So then you would move your gold marker up. Now it's important to note that if you were to do a diagonal placement, cards would shift up and you can actually create chains of combos. But in this instance right now, we're locked into finishing out horizontally here. We cannot do a set of 3 vertically any longer, and we cannot do diagonal as well. So play is going to continue until a player has no hidden cards. They're all face up. So if we were able to finish out this row of floating carpets, and we were able to remove these, and then let's say we revealed this, but we were not able to get a third set here, we would score infamy equal to whatever's left during the inspection phase. Now during the inspection phase, any players that have remaining cards, they're flipped up as well. So the inspection phase happens after a player has no hidden cards left. So in this case, we would gain 2 infamy because this is going to negate 2 of it. So 3 plus 1 and then minus 2. So we would gain 2 infamy. And then if this player had a number of cards hidden, those would be revealed. You'd gain infamy. And again, when you go past 24 infamy, you gain the skull token. And these are really bad. You don't want to be caught with an infamy token because then you're going to lose gold. Now the game is over when a player reaches 100 gold. So the first player to go past 100 is the winner. That is how you win Arcane Alley. Now all of these cards have a variety of different abilities. You have abilities that are going to trigger when you sell a card. You have abilities that are ongoing. There are also special abilities that can be activated from your stash. So in your stash, which is your hand, you can actually play this card for its ability. So this has a ton of great player interaction. There's a lot of back and forth. There's a lot of manipulation of your tableau in order to score as many points as possible. Also trying to mitigate as much infamy as possible. The abilities are really interesting. The artwork is fantastic in the game. The overall graphic design is very well read. It's easy to follow. Again, it plays at a very large player count and it plays relatively quickly, especially turns between players. And again, there's that trying to complete sets, but watching the table and maybe keeping a set back or keeping a card in your hand so that your opponent can't play into it and they have to draw from the deck and maybe they have to change their strategy. Now, Arcane Alley is a modern take on the classic game of golf. There are a lot of modern strategic updates to this game. The abilities, for one, add an entire new layer, a dynamic layer of interaction. There are a lot of great ways to manipulate your player tableau that are not in the older versions of golf. If you're a fan of card games, if you're a fan of golf, or you're just a fan of card games in general, especially games that go up to 6 players, this is a game that you're going to want to take a look at. Again, Arcane Alley is a very fun, dynamic, card-based strategy game. If anything you see here interests you, if you want to know more about Arcane Alley, take a look at the description below for a link to their Kickstarter campaign. This has been Derek with the Board Game Spotlight, and this has been your preview of Arcane Alley.